I'm certain that many of you have already heard about the astonishing meaning behind the Genesis names from Adam to Noah, and that is through the line of Seth. And I heard about this years ago from Chuck Misler. And we find out that from Adam all the way down to Noah, it actually says this, and we see the gospel given: man was appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death brings the despairing rest. Now, basically, what we have in that is the gospel. It talks about the fall of man and how God shall come down and bring rest to the despairing. In Christ, as we know in the book of Hebrews, he is our rest. Christ is truly our Sabbath. But that is not what I'd like to focus on today. What I would like to focus on are these final four names: Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. And it's within these final names that I believe that we can see not that of the gospel necessarily, but that of what happens after the gospel. Because in these last days, now I'm talking about not just the last days as in the last days before Christ's return, but I believe that these carry within them the rapture, the millennial reign, judgment day, as well as eternal heaven. Let me explain. Now, we all know that Enoch, being the seventh from Adam, he was taken up. It just says that the Lord took him one day and he raptured him. And so we know that Enoch is a type of the church. He's a foreshadowing of the raptured church. And being the seventh, we know that the Lord sees a day as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as a day. It's been 6,000 years since the time of Adam. So that 7,000th represents the taking up of the church. That's the reason why we believe now that the rapture is just literally any moment. I believe that it's imminent. I believe that it could happen at any moment. So with Enoch representing the raptured church, have you ever wondered why the Lord allowed Methuselah to live almost 1,000 years? He outlived everyone that's ever lived, and he lived 969 years, almost 1,000. Have you ever wondered about that? Why did the Lord almost wait 1,000 years to take Methuselah? And that right after he took his father Enoch, who represented the raptured church. Well, could it not be that Methuselah represents the millennial reign, the 1,000-year reign of Christ? And then we have Lamech, which represents the despairing. Now we know what happens. The rapture occurs, the millennial reign takes place. What happens after the millennial reign? The judgment day, the final judgment for the damned. And what's more grievous than that day? Now, I don't think that anyone can really dispute three of the four of these with me, because, of course, Enoch represents the raptured church. Methuselah, I do believe, represents the millennial reign. I think that's obvious. And then we have this. Now, we may differ in opinions on what Lamech may represent. And what happens immediately after Judgment Day? That most despairing of events? Noah, rest, eternal heaven. So let's quickly go over this one final time. I believe that Enoch represents the rapture. I believe that Methuselah represents the 1,000-year reign of Christ, Methuselah himself living 1,000 years, Enoch being raptured. And then Lamech, I do believe, represents Judgment Day, and Noah, eternal heaven. Just for one closing point, what does Hebrews 4:3 tell us about the rest that Noah represented? We which have believed do enter into rest.